So today I want to introduce you to representing the university, well, St. Mary's University, Twickenham. We have Bill Richard, which is the regional manager, and is one of the best universities in London. I have been in the campus a couple of times. It's a beautiful small campus in London, and now. Bill, you have the stage. Please take the next 15 minutes to present the unique selling points of St. Mary's University. One of the things I am fond of is the opportunity to help students to find the right job after graduation. Can you elaborate a little bit more? I think that the average in the UK is an 83% of employability, but yours is
Yeah.
96%.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. So we've got a sort of a dedicated careers hub that kind of really try to find sort of students a sort of work whilst they study, and we try to create the links whilst they're at university as well. So we had a kind of careers fair on campus fairly recently as well, and it's only sort of October, and the students. This is really early on the academic year for it, so we're constantly trying to sort of create connections with students and sort of outside companies, whether that be in our sort of arts programs like acting, or sort of our more sort of the physiotherapy programs, which obviously got a quite a good link into sort of the health services. But yeah, we try to make sure that our students have got careers in the back of their mind, because a lot of our programs are quite vocational as well, so they kind of are there. They're designed to really sort of make sure that you can, oh, there I am, make sure that you can sort of create the opportunities for yourself. And obviously being in London, as you know, is a sort of a massive hub for sort of, jobs and employment and that kind of stuff whilst you're with us. And I employ a few students as well along the year as well to sort of help me out at events or on campus stuff as well, which I think's great opportunity for students to get used to kind of, whether it be office work or, talking to people, that kind of thing.
Interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, in terms of general entry requirements, I know it will depend on different factors, but
Mhm.
would it be possible for you to tell us a little bit more about what are the general entry requirements for international students applying for an undergraduate and a postgraduate, if possible?
Yeah, sure. So we do have a page on our website, and it's quite useful. It's got all the sort of country flags on it, and you kind of can click into there, and you can see sort of the really specific ones. And I think ones that are in different language, I always butcher them when I sort of say them, and I struggle to sort of pronounce some of these words. But yeah, I think most of the students can sort of find success getting onto our programs with some, they've completed high school in their home countries, and then there may be some other factors we have to take into account. And obviously lots of students will have to take language tests as well if they're not a majority English speaking country. And I think the sort of IELTS requirements are quite generous, and we do have, it doesn't have to be IELTS, it can be a number of other factors of sort of exams that you can take, or perhaps your high school is enough if we sort of have recognized it, that kind of thing as well. When it comes to postgraduate, that's more undergrad, the English language requirements are slightly higher, and for some of the programs like physio, when we're starting medicine in 2 years as well, which is exciting. They're going to be very much a sort of higher entry language requirements, but that's kind of a sort of expected when it comes to those face-to-face clinical courses. We want a completed degree from their sort of home country. In a, we can take a sort of a kind of, we would sort of talk about firsts and 2-1s as kind of our grading system. So we'd kind of want a British equivalent of, we'd want a good B grade when you're coming to look to apply to the university on that kind of scale. A good GPA, a 3, that kind of thing. If you're on the GPA system, sort of percentage system, you're talking about 70 or so percent. And I think students that sort of are sitting there going, oh, I'm not sure about, that they might sound too high, too low, they can always get in touch with us. We're a very small university, so what's good, I get to know all the students that generally do apply from sort of my area, and we've got some people based in different places that look after different areas. I myself am based in London, but we've got people, that can sort of begin to sort of help you. And we generally, from application to getting an answer, we try to get you an answer within sort of 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the time of year. Obviously, some programs might be longer, like interview programs that have got to have your interview, that kind of thing as well. So physio would have an interview, acting, that kind of thing.
Oh, fantastic. That's really interesting. Before I jump, there is a question here from one of the attendees. But before that, what will be the IB points required for a student with an IB?
An IB, we're looking at. So I've had students with a mixture of high levels and standard levels. If you've got a program, say one of the sciences that we sort of offer, we offer sort of health sciences, that kind of thing. You're going to want kind of a sort of a higher level in sort of one of your sciences. I love the theory of knowledge, by the way. It's a great, if you've got that, I love the talk. It's amazing to have. You're going to look sort of, we'll start sort of thinking about sort of offers around sort of the 28 IB points kind of mark. But it does vary on programs, and there is some differing ones on our website. For example, physio slightly higher, and then some of them, if you're confused about it, because sometimes IELTS, the IB isn't mentioned on every single page, because you might have to click on the European Union or the French or the German pages to find those. But yeah, they're all on there.
Okay, around 27 to 30.
Yeah,
27 to 30 points.
That's what.
Really interesting. Thank you for
that.
Expect, now we're gonna have someone Donoso Rojas. So I'm gonna disable your mic. Feel free to ask your question. See, we have a question here. Donoso, you put your hand up. Do you have any question?
Hey, hello, good afternoon. My name is Pablo Donoso. I was a little confused about the microphone icon. Well, sorry, I entered a little late to the meeting, so I don't know if in this meeting you talk about the price, the cost of the university, is there any kind of scholarships for international students? So sorry, I'm late, so sorry if I'm asking something recurrent.
Thank you. So basically the question is about tuition fees. Thank you so much, Donoso. I really appreciate your participation.
Thank you for that. And don't worry, I turn up late to things sometimes as well, so don't worry about it. So our tuition fees, they're quite competitive for a London university. For an undergraduate program, all of them are around £16,000, with the between 16 and 17, with the physiotherapy and the sports rehab being slightly more expensive, but only by about £500. And then the postgraduate ones vary sort of quite sort of strangely. So the postgraduate taught programs around start about £16,000, sorry, to about £18,000, and that's kind of the general ones. The only ones that are slightly different are physiotherapy, which is because it's a 2-year program, it's about £18,000 and £22,000. Teaching programs like your postgraduate certificate, so you can train to be a teacher, they're slightly cheaper at £16,000, and we do have some distance learning programs at about £11,000. They are kind of for this year, those ones. So because they haven't set the prices, because we're basically finishing enrollments at the end of this week, I believe. So we are, for some late arrivals, we are setting the fees. They should be announced fairly soon for 2025. There's a slight percentage increase. I don't see crazy jumps as well. We do have a 2-year, a few accelerated programs as well for undergraduate level, which is quite cool. And they are still only £16,000 a year. So you can get it for a year less and a year off as well, which is quite cool.
What is an accelerated degree? Can you...
So it's rather than think about England. Obviously, England and Wales, the degrees are 3 years long generally. So because not like say Scotland is 4 years, America's 4 years. for at least 4 years. These ones, basically, the accelerated degrees, we've got a liberal arts program, for example, which is a bit sort of humanities based, a bit of kind of arts, that kind of stuff. That is a 2-year accelerated program. So you
Wow.
get your bachelor's in 2 years as well. It's
In
very
two
full on.
years.
Yeah, you're
All
very
right.
busy. Yeah, there's some universities that do the LLBs in 2 years as well, which is quite cool for law. We don't do that yet, but for example, then in 2 years' time, the other end of the spectrum, we're going to have medicine, which is a 5-year program. So that's going to be very different.
So what sort of degrees you have available in this accelerated option?
Yeah, let me pull up a full list, because I think the liberal arts one is the one that I've talked about most often, because
Mhm. In the
so,
meantime, if you have any question or want to ask a direct question, feel free just to put your hand up and I'll give you access to your mic, or you can put it on the chat.
yeah, so there's the liberal arts one that I've already talked about, and there's also the sports performance analysis and talent identification, which is a very long one, but that's kind of the kind of students that they don't want to sort of be sports professionals, but they want to evaluate sports performance for elite organizations, recruitment, research, that kind of stuff. Kind of the people that sort of go and work in the field and sort of spot future athletes, which we really enjoy at St Mary's, because, we had some gold medal winners this year at the Olympics. We had some it was actually a French rugby player who was a St Mary's graduate. We had some silver medals in some of the athletics events, which was quite cool as well. But we thought, because the quality of the water wasn't as good this year, we were a bit annoyed. But it was, they made it through and they still got their silver and bronze medals, which is quite cool.
Thank you so much for that explanation. We have a question from Norman. How
Mhm.
long does the law degree last, and the scholarships for Latin American students, if you can
Yeah,
elaborate a little bit more?
yeah, sure. So the law degree is 3 years long. So you've got
3
the
years
law,
long.
3 years long, the law degree, and you've got the so that's a qualifying law degree, the LLB. You've got there's law and criminology, which are both LLBs. So they're 3 years. The scholarships that we've got at the moment, there's kind of a £1,000 one, a £2,000 one, a £3,000 one, which are all on academic merit. We sometimes have newer ones that appear throughout the cycle. So I always say to students, keep an eye, and we will sort of tell students when these are available. For example, for this year, I had a £5,000 one, which some students were lucky enough to get, but they kind of are. Sometimes it varies when they sort of come through, because I've always got a bid for, I want more scholarships for this area, that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, and there's always we've got a list of all the scholarships that are available on our website, because we've got, we've some external scholarships as well, and there are internal ones as well. There is some really specific faith-based scholarships as well that are on there. But they're not managed by sort of my department. They're kind of managed, and they kind of sort of come and go. But there is some sort of, sort of some Catholic ones that have been there on the past, which is quite cool. So yeah, there's a few different options for students.
Thank you so much for that. Would it be possible if you tell us a little bit about how can I apply to those scholarships? And after that, we have a question from Donoso again. But if you can go on elaborate a little bit more on how to apply, what are the requirements?
Absolutely. So we'll look at that sort of the countries that students are applying from. We will look at the kind of grades that we're expecting from those countries, and we kind of peg it to what's written on our website. And if people that are kind of reaching and going higher than those grades, they will be considered for scholarship. So for example, if one says, get 70% in this diploma and you're getting 80, 90, we're going to go, this student sounds really good. And we're going to, and so on application, we might say to you, congratulations, here's your offer. And we've given you sort of £3,000 off that £16,000 tuition.
And is this every year or just the first year?
I think some of them are every year, but let me double check that, because it did there was one that changed fairly recently, but I think that might be the £2,000 one. But they're all on the website, so I can have a quick look after this and get back to you. But I think there's one. I know the £5,000 one, for example, was just like a one-off. But yeah, it's an interesting. I think I'll have to double check because I had a meeting 2 weeks ago about what's going to come next year as well. So it's kind of yet to be announced for the upcoming year. I think the way that sort of students, if you go like, this is too expensive, this kind of thing, send us an email and we'll have a look at what scholarships we can sort of find, where we can signpost you, because we have students that come in with external scholarships that we've administered as well, and sort of external places as well, which is quite great. I'm amazed at how sort of resourceful students are at finding these pots of money that sometimes we don't even know about, where they sort of come and sort of found it as well, which is great. I had a student last year, and I was like, wow, you got someone sponsored you to come do this as well, which is quite cool. But yeah, there's an external scholarships part on our website that kind of tells where we think you might be able to grab some more.
Thank you for that interesting point and insight into how to apply to the scholarships. Well, I live around 50 minutes from London, and everyone knows that living in the city center it tend to be very expensive.
Yeah.
So Donoso is asking, what is the monthly cost for living for students who are in this special place in London?
Yeah, so we've got the accommodation. Let me just bring up, because the accommodation prices, because we've got at the moment we've got our accommodation is mostly for undergraduate students, because that's the way we've sort of had. Because we're quite small, we haven't been able to create sort of lots of postgraduate ones, and the way that sort of students might be different is the fact we are completely catered as a university, so we cook for you. So at least so the fees include the accommodation fees include your food as well. So I think that is about, so we've got different accommodation. I think the most expensive one's about £9,600, and that's kind of for the ensuite room, that kind of stuff, and it does include you get sort of enough to have like the sort of the main meals every day as well.
Hold on a second. Let me try to understand that. So if you study at St. Mary's, you don't need to pay for your own food because the food is included in the accommodation fees.
Indeed. Yeah.
So
exactly.
and the accommodation could be, depending on what you choose, the most expensive could be £900 per month.
So it's £9,000 in a year. So that is
£9,000 in a year.
Yeah, so it's the 36-week contract. So it kind of runs September to December, and at Christmas you have to leave because we give the catering staff Christmas off, which is only fair, and then it runs all the way up until May as well. So everything that's included in your sort of accommodation foods, like Wi-Fi, your meal plan, your content insurance, you don't have gas, water, electricity, that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, I think, let me just pull up the full fees because I can see it for the ensuite rooms, but let me see if I can find the.
In the meantime, if I divide these £9,000 in 12, it comes to £700.50, and we are talking about the best room, basically.
Let me grab that. That's DMAC. So 9. No, because the other one, 9,915. It's annoying because they're not all on the same. They're all not on the same site. You have to click through. Because I just there's one at 8,460. There's these studio rooms that might be.
That is really interesting. There is no many British universities.
It's really rare. It's really rare. I found one. So we've got there's some postgraduate ones, which are kind of studios, which are a little bit more expensive, and the food isn't included in that. I don't believe it's self-catered, and they are a little bit more. But that's just because they're big kind of studio flats. They run between the 10,000 to about sort of 11,000. But those contracts, they're still the 36 weeks. But the looks like the accommodation fees are about sort of topping out at 10,000 for undergraduate, and the food's included, which I think is really good. So you don't have to worry about that. And it's good because I have some of my colleagues live in the accommodation to act as like staff mentors, that kind of stuff as well. So it's a good old time they have as well. But yeah, it's around that, 9,900. They're not bad.
Thank you for that. We have another question from Misael Sebastian. What are those? So basically, what are the main degrees or the subjects that you specialized? Could be medicine, or it could be sports, or it could be law.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the best of the university in terms of the courses that is offered?
Yeah, so we've got a few different sort of subject areas. I'm just going to pull up sort of my notes. And I think the good thing is, because we were founded many years ago on we were a teacher training university, right? And that was because we were founded as a charity that started sort of, training the local area. But now we've got everything from, education and teaching. We teach the humanities, theology, creative writing, things like that. Acting, very popular. Law is growing. Our newest program that we've had as an undergraduate offering is coming into its second year now is computer science. And there's a few sort of computer science different pathways if you want to get really specific into it. And we've just opened an esports arena, which is a room that I think it's got a sort of hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of computer equipment in it, and it's so bright, it's so noisy, it's an immediate migraine when I walk into it. But for students that are into the sort of computer science and sort of, if they want to go into sort of that kind of region, it's quite cool. So we've got that, and that's become really popular for our international students. Over the years, what we've got, we've had people sort of come in because we are, very good for sport. We've had people come in on both our sports science and sports coaching programs. There's kind of a few different strands to sports. You've got the kind of the sports management, you've got the sports coaching, you've got the sports sort of nutrition, and you've also got this sort of pure sports science. So if you were to look on our website, the sport is a very good offering. And that kind of leads into kind of having quite a good campus for kind of, you've got the health sciences like physio and sports rehab, trying to get these athletes better again. And then you've got the sports offering with both the elite athletes. We've had double gold medal winners at the Olympics that, on the more sort of, sports science programs, but they don't have to be on, these Olympians don't have to be on that. They could be on, business management, anything. But, lots of them do those kind of things. And then because we've got our own, we've got a really sort of prestigious acting program that is, we've got our own theatre. We've got a theatre on campus and a theatre in sort of Twickenham itself. So we've got lots of opportunities, which have some great sort of British acts come into them. And it's a really sort of nice sort of thing. And our marketing and communications is getting bigger as well. The only thing that we don't really do are things like chemistry and physics and sort of those kind of things. We are, as I say, we're bringing medicine on in 2 years, but there's no kind of chemistry, physics, any of those kind of stuff, no maths, that kind of thing. We do accounting, but we don't do sort of like the pure maths, further maths, calculus, that kind of stuff.
So can we say that your university specialize on sports, law, acting, education? Am I missing?
Yeah, that would be a fair thing. Yeah, you've got the psychology in there as well. But yeah,
psychology.
I think that because we've got the sports and health sciences, a really big thing for the university, and because we're moving into the sort of medical field as well, is kind of buoying up that kind of thing, because it kind of is kind of the natural progression for us. Yeah.
Okay, so medicine will be one of your degrees in the
2 years.
Probably next 2 years. There are just few universities that offers medicine, so that's amazing having one in London.
Yeah, and it's great because it's going to be because the way that it works in the UK, for the first sort of few years, it's going to be all international students. So we're going to have around 70 or so places for just international students, growing year on year as well, the numbers. But yeah, so for the first cohort, I think they're planning about 70. So yeah, we've got applications for that close in a year, which is kind of quite scary for me because they have to. Well, the UCAS cycle sort of starts. But yeah, it's going to be quite cool. We're investing millions of pounds in a new building, which is gonna be sort of attached very close to our sports and health sciences. There's going to be some labs that look very confusing to me, but it's going to be great for the university. It's a real sort of thing that we're looking forward to.
I have another question. As a father and as an international student, I come from Colombia, and one of the things I love the most about the UK is safety. So, what are your thoughts as a British person and as a person who worked with a lot of international students? How does the university ensure safety and well-being to its students, both on campus and off campus? Are there specific services? And what is your opinion on what it's like to be safe in London?
Yeah, I think, the borough of London that the university is based in is the safest borough in London.
That's true. Is the safest borough in London.
Yeah, and I think, people sort of see headlines about London that are, exciting and, all this is all scary. But London is a major sort of, major hub. And I think the university is aware, we have students that commute across the city to get to us, and we've got well-being services on campus. We've got 24-hour security, 365 days a year, but we rarely have any sort of major problems on campus. I think because we're in that kind of really sort of the safe borough, students are walking around, they're getting the public transport. I'd be traveling a public transport. No one drives, none of us, none of the sort of international students will get a car when they come to the university. They'll be taking public transport, they'll be taking the train, they'll be taking the tube and the buses, and they're really safe. Around our area, it's really safe. And if you're sensible, like in any city, if you walk around with an iPhone, saying this is my iPhone, you've got to be sensible. And I think London is, it's an amazing city. I was born in South London, in a place called Tooting, so not a million miles away. And I've loved living here. I've never personally had any sort of troubles because I'm sensible. But I was raised here, and sort of international students taking that leap and taking that kind of that worry. I'm going to a different country. They speak, we all speak English, and you'll be sort of maybe in your second, third language when you're over into the UK. But it is a welcoming city. It's, there's over, I think, 138 languages spoken in London. It's crazy how multicultural it is. I have students that, I've had students from Korea come and study with us, and there's a really big, like a few stops away, there's a really big sort of Korean area. There's, students that are from South Africa that will go to, the South African area. So every student that's got, from these countries, there'll be like an area, not just around the university, but there might be, say, if you really want that specific, condiment or the sauce that you want from home, I guarantee you there'll be in a shop in London that sells it as well. So it is a safe city, and we're constantly, the student union and the university are running campaigns to make sure, from well-being, we've got a we call I think it's a Wobble Week, which we host. I think it's hosting next week, because about 4 or 5 weeks into term, students that are international or even sort of home students, they get a bit, it's that kind of 5 weeks. Oh, this is my life now for the next 3 years, or 8 months. And we want to check in with them to make sure they're okay. And we run workshops, and, we had, during the first 2 weeks, we had, it's really great I loved it as well. Sort of pets as therapy is like a new thing where people can just go into, because you might miss your home pet at home. You can go and stroke a dog, and it just relaxes someone for 10 minutes. And we're running sort of always doing stuff like that. And I think, parents, it is safer than many cities around the world, London.
Yeah, that's a plus, honestly. And it's true. Is the safest town or borough in London, which is a
Yeah,
privilege to
exactly.
live there.
Yes, it is
It's
great.
beautiful, by the way.
Hmm.
I think I mentioned that at the beginning, and just before we conclude, I'm very impressed about the employability or employment rate at the university.
Mm, mm,
This is a relatively small country with 164 universities. In
yeah,
London, there are around 40 universities,
yeah.
and St. Mary's having a 96% graduate employment is really good. The national average is, I believe, is 87%. So this is above the average. That's really good. What do you do to help students to get a job in London?
Yeah, so the academics are really engaged when they're with us as well. So because we are that small, the students aren't just numbers. They're not, I still remember my student number when I went to university, 0701572. But obviously,
Mhm.
my name as well, Bill. Um, so the academics will get to know these students really well, and they'll be, signposting throughout those 3 years to their experience in the workplace. A lot of the academics are still working in their fields. They're not just pure academics. Some of them might have, consultancy firms, worked in big law firms, that kind of stuff. We are constantly making sure that our students are engaged with the workplace. We've got a career service as well, which is based in a building just next to mine on campus, that are there. They're a resource for students to sort of really check in with and really sort of make sure that these students are using the most of their opportunities whilst they're with us. Because if they're a postgrad student, 1 year is not a long time. We want to make sure that these students are first of all getting onto the right degrees, and make sure that when they're coming to us, they're setting expectations. But over the 3 years for these students as well,
Mhm.
it's a really sort of good thing. And we haven't talked about it, but lots of these programs, the 3-year programs, also have that kind of sneaky sort of, we call it a sandwich year, where you can have the year in industry. So you've got your first 2 years, 1, 2, and then you skip out the third year for going to work somewhere as kind of an internship somewhere, and you'll come back for your third year of study, but 4 year in total
Yeah.
of back at the university. You find lots of those students that have made those links whilst they've been on campus and in the workplace. Some of them get rehired by the people that they've interned for, and it's always good. Interview prep and stuff like this is really nice, and those fairs that we host for the students as well. And we give
Mhm.
we give the students space to breathe on their program, to make sure they've got time to still work whilst they're studying. We've got students from a wide range of social economic backgrounds. Some,
Yeah.
will work, and some will have caring responsibilities. So we want to make sure that our students, are happy whilst they're here as well.
And that's fantastic. And that's really important
Hmm.
for students, because what we want, we invest time, we invest money, and we want to
Yeah,
find the best way to progress in our profession. And
sure.
the fact that students will be able to stay in the UK after finish their education, two
Mm,
years,
yeah.
2 years to be able to start your career in the UK after your
Mm,
graduation. That's unique.
yeah.
And that's amazing. So before we conclude, Bill, I'm going to talk a little bit about a grant that Academic Action is offering to every student. And it's particularly if you want to study at St. Mary's University, you will be able to apply to this grant that comes from our non-for-profit company, Academic Action Social Enterprise. That is, you will be able to benefit from this. In the meantime, Bill, would you be able to put your contact details, so if everyone has a question, they will
Absolutely.
go and contact you directly?
Shall I put that in the
Um,
chat?
yes, please, just put it on the chat. And this is the what you see here is our I'm trying to put this in a bigger. What will be the way? Here you are. So what you see here is our Empowerment and Achievement Grant that is available for a particular group of students, underprivileged students who are overcoming economic challenges, first generation of university students, women in STEM, students with disabilities, students from the LGBTQ plus community, individuals affected by violence or armed conflict, students from single-parent families facing financial and social challenges, and applicants from underrepresented groups. If you are in this list or your son or daughter is in this list, so you know you have the chance to receive a grant. It's a small push towards your financial studies. That could be between £300 up to £800. And this is part of our plan and commitment to equality, diversity, and inclusion. Studying abroad and develop your dreams and career should be an opportunity for everyone. And we try to support families with this small grant if they want to study at any of the British universities, particularly to St. Mary's University. If you want to know more, we will be able to share more details later. So thank you so much, Bill. I know it's midnight, it's 1 a.m. here in the UK. So thank you for having you participating in this event. Before we finished, if you have to say something to me as a potential student, why should I study at St. Mary's University in few words?
I think the key thing that sort of I think when students sort of have come to us and graduated, the community feel that we have at St. Mary's is unrivaled. Every student on campus that I come across with smiling, happy, because we are that kind of, we're only 5,000 people and we kind of make a village, and I think you've got the sort of uniqueness of how beautiful it is to study, but buildings, don't create experiences. We have the experiences of our students and our community as well. So I think that is a real thing, and we've got kind of we've got a sort of list of ethos and goals that are on our website that kind of sort of say generosity of spirit, which is we want our students to sort of graduate and look out for each other as well. And I think whilst you're on campus, you'll realize that we sort of do sort of make sure we're not one big family's cheesy, but we are kind of one sort of St. Mary's kind of, we have that kind of, we call ourselves Simmies as well. So once you become a St. Mary's student, you're a Simmy as well, which sounds like that computer games, The Sims, but you are a Simmy, and often people, you're a Simmy for life. And as soon as you step on campus, we hope that students get that feeling.
Thank you so much. So it's about being part of the community. It's like a second home away from home.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
Pleasure,
Bill, for your time. And I hope to see you soon in our next sessions for open talks or charlas abiertas. So to conclude, thank you everyone for being with us, and I remind you that tomorrow we're going to have the University of Durham around 5 p.m. in Colombia and Ecuador. On Thursday, we're going to have the University of Birmingham and the University of Sussex. And then Monday, the 28th, we're going to have the University of Cardiff and Aberystwyth University. But keep an eye on your emails and social media, because through the entire year, we're going to have different events and different open talks. So have a lovely rest of the evening, and I hope you sleep well, Bill.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.